So I want to review another movie that came out recently, and before I forget to review it because it's so bad, and because it's very funny. I love seeing reviews where for movies where people are just like, "Can't you just enjoy it's a comic book movie or it's a movie about toys? Like, can't you just enjoy it?" But when I do see good movies, and then I see good blockbuster movies, and then I think about the movie I just watched, and I'm like, "Wow, no, you can make a movie about toys, but if it's a terrible movie." It's a terrible superhero movie where there's like, look, Michael Keaton, oh look, two Ezra Millers, and that's the only good CGI, which is the worst part. Point is, I'm very easily not interested in certain movies, and it's funny when people say like, oh come on, you didn't like The Flash, it was so good, and I'm just like, it was not. So no, this is what I have to say about Transformers: Rise of the Beast. It was again one of these movies that is just a complete broken movie. I think there's a lot that, could be liked here. I think it starts being very simplistic, which is not a bad thing. That's not my complaint. The Transformers movies, there were only, like two good ones. I mean, Transformers from 2008. I liked the Revenge of the Fallen, like, opening. I thought the campy Spielbergness of it, mixed with Michael Bay's ridiculous, like, maximalism. I thought it was kind of fun, but then don't get me started on like Revenge of the Fallen. Everyone will talk about how shitty it is. Like they're just teleported to Egypt, and then John Turturro's like talking about pyramids and time portals, and he's like, "So this is how time vortexes work." Like it's so bad, and it's 2.5 hours. And then there's the third one, which is just like ridiculous. Chicago's falling down. It's so crazy and so epic, and it has Patrick Dempsey, kidnapping Jason Statham's girlfriend, and then like having an army of robots like fight Shia LaBeouf. It's so silly and kind of over the top that I like it, and I like the fact that like they invested this much money on a Hasbro property. But then you compare it to the current films, and these just feel so diluted. Like, firstly, the Mark Wahlberg ones. I mean, any after the first three Michael Bay ones, they are ridiculous. They're still Michael Bay, but then like they get to a point where they drop Shia LaBeouf, they got rid of Megan Fox, and it just feels very, like, just cheesy, and the stories just got worse and bloated, and I feel like they were just trying to make them 3 hours, and it doesn't work. The thing with Transformers is, Michael Bay, though, he does have a vision. Like, if you've seen Bad Boys, or you've seen Bad Boys 2, he has this very distinct style to him. And he brings that out in his movies, and that's what the draw is. He's able to make Transformers work. I think the first Transformers worked because as itself, it was just telling one simple story. Like, the villain in Transformers, Megatron, totally bland. Don't get me wrong. He's one of the most blandest villains ever. I don't think Transformers is great. It's just a really well-done summer blockbuster because it manages to have this really fun kind of, like, teenage through line in the movie. Don't get me wrong. It's cheesy as hell. The first 5 minutes has Megan Fox, like, calling out toxic masculinity, repairing a car, and saying, like, "Don't call me a little bunny." And that's, like, only in the first, like, opening sequence. So it's a really cheesy movie, but it just works because of the way he shoots it, because of the way Michael Bay injects this Spielberg energy into this macho story about, like, robots. Like, he brings this G.I. Joe energy out into it, with all the soldiers, and making it into this big story, like, where the Transformers, the aliens crashing on Earth. And there's something about it that works, okay? But look at Stephen Caple Jr.'s new Transformer movie. It's just really awful. There's no voice. There's no, like, visual style to it. The language of it is all bad. I think that the only draw to it is nostalgia. And I'm going to be honest here. I'm not a Transformers person outside of the Michael Bay movies. Honestly, there are people who are huge fans of this series, and, they're going to be the ones who are going to judge it and be like, well, I enjoyed it, and, that's fine. But as someone who's not a fan of the, original Transformers series, or knowing who these characters are, I was completely, like, bored when they introduced the obvious, like, leader of these robots, which was, obviously, Optimus Prime is the leader, and they treat him as in the way, like, Captain America, when he shows up and you're all supposed to, like, bow because it's Peter Cullen. That's fine. But everything else, it just doesn't work. Like, Pete Davidson's character is very annoying. And on top of that, you can have that character who's there to kind of be the funny one, bringing us through, humor through the ridiculous robot arc of the story. That's fine. It just felt so imbalanced, mostly because all the other robot characters have, like, no personalities. Michelle Yeoh is in it just to like voice. And again, you're all gonna make fun of me. I don't know. I was gonna say like this eagle robot transformer, and her whole character just feels like it's there to be like this wise. I was thinking of like Emma Watson's character, not Emma Watson. Oh my god, the character from Doolittle, like the bird in that one. That's what I mean. It's just so like bad. Just how like little depth these characters have. They just feel like here's the wise bird character, here's the ape character that's barely in the film. They show him in the first minute, but the thing is, like the Optimus Primal, the robot gorilla one, these characters just don't get any depth. They don't get any build up, and to me, it just feels like a mess. And there's a reason for this. This is overstuffed to the brim with characters. I mean, really, the problem you could say with the original Transformers is they don't give any of the Transformers themselves depth. I mean, they would introduce characters who were literally just like there to spout a couple annoying lines, be the worst characters. The robots, I'm talking about the Transformers. But what worked was Michael Bay built this, through line of here's a teenager, he has this quest because his grandfather's glasses like captured the Transformers like map in it or something like that. And because of that, it's his story. And it works. They have the Transformers following him. It works. But in this film, I just don't see that chemistry. They also add this thing with the brother of Anthony Ramos' character being sick. It just doesn't work, and they don't even pay it off well. They pay it off in like the last minute of the movie, really shoehorned in. They're just like, I'm going to spoil it for you guys here, but they're just like, yeah, we took care of your brother. He's good. And it's just like, okay, sure. The mother, who was played by the same actress who was in Across the Spider-Verse, she's in it for like a minute. Like, okay, she's just in it at the beginning, and then at the end they hug her. And you're just like, oh yeah, there was a mom character who's in this. I forgot. But, because they didn't treat her like she was even a character. And also there are, there's this character played by Dominique Fishback. I liked her. I thought she had potential, but I think they just kind of waste her. I think it's the same with Anthony Ramos. Like, they hint at a relationship with them. That's fine. We don't need everyone to have a romance, but it just feels pointless. Like, everything in the movie, there's no chemistry. You know what I mean? I think that there could be. I just think the story doesn't allow for that. And also, Michael Bay's movies had this manic energy that just allowed for that chemistry to take place. Like, in this story where robots and humans can meet, you need that chaotic energy. And it can't just all come from Pete Davidson's robot character. I mean, that's just distracting, annoying. It is very distracting because you just look at the robots and you think, well, fuck them. I mean, like Optimus Prime is the only one I like. Everyone else is just here to spout exposition. So, yeah, I did miss Michael Bay this time around. It was a very hard watch, especially through the last hour. Like, honestly, the first hour was fine. Peter Dinklage as villain, man, like, I love the casting there. Peter Dinklage is really good for villain roles. There's just something about him in that role. It's very good, but it was just an awful character. And, yeah, on top of that, the final fight was terrible. Like, really, I mean terrible. I didn't like how they set it up. Like, we have to go to Machu Picchu because there's, like, some fucking MacGuffin there. It's terrible. And on top of that, I just didn't like it because they had brought up early on. I feel like maybe they're trying to compensate for how bad the fight was. Because there's, like, no stakes. There's no... Like, they introduce a couple villagers who live in this, like, mountain. But, like, it's, like, a couple villagers. They don't even show them in the fight. I feel like it was, like a reverse Justice League situation. But the funniest thing about it is, like, they opened the movie with Stephen Cable Jr. being like, we actually got to film at Machu Picchu. Like, this is the best. And then they have Anthony Ramos, like, sitting in a Porsche, like, this movie, man, like, it's incredible. Like, just the way they had him sitting in the Porsche made me laugh. But it was just, like, overall an all right movie. I don't know. What did you guys think? I mean, maybe I'm just overreacting, but I really did think that it was boring, and I was bored. So let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.